live now? Let's check.
There's a little on-air button on the top of my screen, so maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. Cool. Okay, we should be live. Let me announce this all on the Discord. But yeah, like there's something about like that category of thing in games where like certain kinds of like you can do this a hard way technically, but I would like for you to do it the easier way. Like certain types of that you maybe sometimes don't want, or you maybe sometimes do want to worry about, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I didn't like. I mean, there's so much iteration that goes into like the level design for this game that like it's not like I didn't think about it, but it's
right.
not like on the top of my mind either. Like there's more like low level concerns about level design and making sure that like certain jumps are nice for the player that doesn't know anything, right? Like
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So how was while we wait for people to roll in, how was your experience with Laney game?
It's great, yeah.
Since I'm guessing a lot of people here were playing with us on the Discord. I mean, I don't know exactly how many people, but it certainly seemed like after we started talking about it in the Discord, a lot of those ghosts started showing up. Right?
Yeah, there's a ton of ghosts. I think that's like the ideal. That's also the reason it's weird to me that they shadow released it, because like you're gonna get like one of the better experiences with when there's more people playing, and then it's just like they didn't tell anybody, and so you go like were I to find this without a Discord channel also playing it, I would have gone in and not known there was a multiplayer aspect to it at all, right?
Right.
Like
yeah.
you wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly thought they were like dev ghosts or something,
right? Yeah.
at first, and then I at one point I just had this strong feeling that this is definitely one of you guys next to me right now, and I'm pretty sure it was Caitlin right there, like trying to beat this one area.
Yeah, like you have to do like non-dev things, like do a little dance, a bunch of short jumps in a row or something, right?
Right. But even like I think when I first saw them, I was like they were jumping up and down in a way that was like so unnatural that I was like, oh, the dev must have done that, right? Like,
right. So yeah, it's got to be weird. Recording of some sort. Yeah, I don't know. I've been having a great time with it. I think what I like about it most is that like sometimes I get lost in these games that are about exploration if they don't like enrapture me moment to moment. But like this game's really good at like providing puzzles for me to think about while I'm exploring, right? So like it like even exploring is often a puzzle, like in like where can I branch next, right? It's like I went past this screen 4 times and didn't notice like this little detail that lets me get somewhere else.
Yeah, the main I won't say it explicitly, but the main like tricky concept to how the world works is it's so conducive to like the exploration feeling really puzzly like that. I absolutely love it. It also has a downside when you start trying to like clean up at the end, which made me spend a lot of time. But it was I really like the idea. I feel like I've seen that idea or something very much like it in a Draken game at some point, but I can't.
Sylvie does some things towards that too. Sometimes she'll wrap her worlds in really strange ways, where it's like like you go down and then it moves you over a column and then down.
Yeah.
At the top, she does a bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, I think that idea is probably Draken Sylvie adjacent.
Yeah, for sure. Is that I remember you said, I don't know if this is related to what you were just saying, but like you said something about how the level design was like loose. Is that related to what you were just saying? Like, because that really surprised me, because to me it does feel like it feels pretty tight to me.
That's what I'm comparing. So like in games that are usually about exploration, the level design tends to be looser, is what I was saying. Yeah. So like sort of the opposite of what you thought I said. Where like I do think Laney is very.
Oh, you're saying Laney is tight, but in exploration games in general. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I think it connects with me so well, because normally what happens is, I don't know, I'm like ADHD and I get bored because I have to like right, there's nothing to do, and I'm just like I get mad at Hollow Knight because the first 8 hours I can't move because they don't let me dash or jump or
Hollow
whatever.
Knight has a
right?
really slow start for like people who have played video games before. It's
right.
it's not great, but I mean I like the game. I enjoyed the game overall, but yeah, I found it really slow to start. Yeah, laning game had a really nice curve in that kind of way. Mike, is my chat not working, or is no one in the chat? I'm testing. Test success. Okay, welcome people. So yeah, I guess we'll get started more seriously. Talk about a game that's actually on the screen instead of the other game that we were all playing yesterday. So yeah, I have Gate here. Very happy to welcome Gate, the creator of Derelict Star, and yeah, Derelict Star. If you haven't played it yet, is I think one of the greatest platformers ever. It's extremely intricate and about the movement system and the mechanics and all of the different possibilities that arise there. It's kind of precision-y. I mean, it definitely gets precision-y sometimes, but I'd say it's more focused on just a lot of the interesting possibilities that come out of the movement, regardless of how precise that is. And yeah, it's a massive game. It's surprisingly friendly for what it is. It kind of has the feeling of something like a Sylvie game or one of these what you would call a sicko platformer, but without being so hard to get into, maybe. So yeah, we're gonna just chat about that. And if you have questions, feel free to. Well, actually, I would say hold your questions. Think about your questions and hold them, and I will ask for them later. And yeah, if the chat has questions, we'll get back to them. But yeah, welcome, Gate. Was my description of the game accurate enough?
I mean, I personally wouldn't describe it like that because
yeah,
it's embarrassing. But yeah, sure.
Well, okay, without the quality assessment, the more whatever, the more yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty accurate. I think I describe it on the Steam page as something like navigating tricky areas, tricky situations. It's something like that, right? Like it's very much about movement. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
definitely tricky, I would say, is a good word. It has a very puzzly kind of feel to it. Like how am I doing this exactly?
Yeah, like I really liked like that part of it came sort of from playing Celeste, where I was like a lot of screens on Celeste feel like how do I do this, rather than like I can't do the mechanical part of it. It's like what even steps do I take to like get through this screen, and I really liked that.
Yeah,
So
I feel like people don't really appreciate that about Celeste. Or it's like easy to overlook that, especially if you're more experienced with games. But like, it's kind of a sneaky puzzle game. It's kind of like I think it's almost a good, like, if you struggle to get into puzzle games, like play Celeste first and like realize that is kind of a puzzle game. And then,
yeah. Like it does it. I think it does it like well enough that it's sort of invisible in some ways to both players. Like the new player, it's just wordlessly sort of teaching them things, and then the more experienced players sort of, they're not thinking about the design as much because they're just trying to do the cool execution. So
right. So the main inspiration for this game supposedly was Super Mario World, actually, which is related to that. I mean, Super Mario World, like when you get into ROM hacks or Kaizo stuff or whatever, I'm not that familiar with that. Well, maybe we should start there, actually. For those of us like me who are not super well versed in Super Mario World, tell us about what that inspiration looked like. What exactly you're pulling from there?
Sure. So like, I feel like I watched, I got into Super Mario World through Super Mario Maker. I was making like a decent amount of Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2 levels. Mine tended more towards puzzles because I found it funny to try to take a platformer that's clearly meant for having fun and then constrain it into this terrible like space where you're having to interact with these minute details about how Mario moves. I thought that was hilarious.
But that
But
is fun for some people,
yeah,
clearly.
it
And
is.
puzzle levels like have a big following on YouTube, at least. I've noticed that.
Yeah,
So
and
there's
so
some
like
people who are interested in it.
and like the problem with puzzle levels in Mario Maker is that Mario is like the designers of Mario didn't try to constrain it at all to be a puzzle game. And
Right.
so like a lot of the design space there is hard to, it's like hard to make puzzle levels because it's hard to tell the player what they can and can't do. So like in Mario, it's not obvious like if a jump is possible necessarily. And then Mario's like P speed mechanic is such that it's not always obvious where you can get P speed. And so like
Can you explain how that works?
yeah, so like the way Mario P speed works is that like you need a certain amount of space on the ground to go forward, and then you get like enough momentum, and then you're able to run faster. And when you run faster in Mario, you can also jump higher. And so like but it's not as so like the way I designed it in Derelict is that there's a certain like you can only get P speed on the ground in Derelict, but in Mario you can kind of like be in the air sometimes and gain P speed. It's like way more fuzzy, and so a lot of times players just like are trying to do a jump wrong in a puzzle level because like it looks possible and it looks like there's maybe enough room here. And the other side of that is that like you simultaneously have to make it easy for a new player to see what they're meant to do while preventing the experienced player from breaking it. Like you have to do both of those things at the same time, otherwise it doesn't work. So
yeah,
it's so like I feel like a lot of my design work in Derelict Star is greatly informed by that experience of trying to make puzzle levels in Mario Maker.
Yeah, that's cool. Like one thing that I feel like must be relevant to this is just the UI in Derelict Star. Like I find this super interesting. So I guess you can see on the screen right now, like there's this, I guess there's speed indicators and there's indicators of like what buttons you're pressing at any given time. But the speed, there's really a lot that's being communicated within that main speed indicator, the horizontal speed indicator. And I just wonder like how much was like enabled by that, because like it's weird. There's like, if you look at like mainstream games, there's like so much information is on the screen at all times, but I feel like a lot of like indie games, and at least a lot of the cool indie games, whatever, that the indie games that I play, they we've been in a trend for a long time of like, don't unnecessarily display information and all that, which is good, but like I just wonder if somehow displaying more information like enables more tricky stuff and like getting into more details of the mechanics more easily in a more friendly way,
Yeah, so that is an intentional part of the design too. So I guess to contextualize the UI for this game, it was literally a debug UI I was using when I was like I literally developed this game in Pico 8. I think the project name was even SMW for like Super Mario World. Like it was straight up just trying to see how Super Mario World physics felt in Pico 8.
Yeah.
But while I was doing that, like the physics, I don't know. Like I don't know how to make like good physics from scratch, right? It's just tweaking a bunch of numbers, right? You put some parameters in, you make a bunch of variables, and then you like mess with the variables until it feels cool. But it while I was doing that, it was like hard to tell, like, because my game's sort of stateful, and it's hard to tell like what state I'm in, and like is this jump, like if I'm going this speed, how high do I want to be going? So I made a bunch of like just a really hacky like rectangle on the bottom of the screen to like show me how fast I was going, and I put a little marker to show you like when you're jumping and stuff. And while I was doing that, I was like, oh, this like gives me way, like as a player, this gives me way more insight to how the movement works in general. So like I was like noticing like in Mario, you kind of just like if I need a specific height jump, I'm just sort of feeling that out, right? But when I had that debug bar, I was looking at the debug bar and it's going like a third of the way up, and then I press jump and I get a certain height, and I'm like, oh, this is like pretty easily repeatable now because this UI on the bottom exists. And I was also informed by one of my previous games. I had a puzzle game, Give Up the Ghost, which has this like teleporter mechanic. And early versions of it, my playtesters were sort of getting confused about like when you could do what with a teleporter. There's like different scenarios in which you can do things with this teleporter. And one of the things I did to like fix that confusion.
It shows certain sides as blocked, right? Like it has,
So it shows like a side is like yellow or red in different states. And once I added that, I was able to make way more complicated puzzles. Like once I added this like just little UI element that actually like shows you what's going on rather than like everything having to happen in the player's head, suddenly it lets you like ascend to like a higher level of abstraction almost immediately. It's like once the computer starts thinking for you at that lower level, it like you have more attention to give to other parts of the puzzle, right? And so like it works well in a puzzle game, and then it works even better in an action game because action games are already like attention.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Like, imagine how much better it works in an action game. And like, yeah, it definitely relates to like just I guess a habit that like advanced platformer players are going to have is just like, you know, making visual cues for things when something is precise, like making a visual cue, and it kind of just enables that in a more obvious way. Or it's, you don't have to think as abstractly to come up with that idea or something like that idea in Derelict Star because of the UI.
Right. Like as a player, before I watched like people play like hard Super Mario World hacks, like because I watched people play Super Mario World hacks before I even played Super Mario World hacks. I haven't even finished Super Mario World, the base game.
That's crazy.
I like just jumped into a hack because it was more immediately interesting to me. Like as a kid, I played mostly Mario 3, and I loved that game because it's like extremely tight in how it's designed, right? Like every level just shows you one thing, and then it's like, there you go. And then Mario World was like the opposite of that, which was like very offensive to me as a child. I was like, this isn't right.
How was your experience getting into Super Mario World hacks? Because like, you know, if someone loved Derelict Star, should they get into Super Mario World hacks, or should they get into some other stuff instead?
I don't think
Nintendo will be offended if you say no.
I don't. It depends on the person. Like if you liked Derelict Star because it gets into like this weird esoteric spot, like near the like when you're trying to get qubits or stuff. Like if you 100%ed Derelict Star, I think you'll love Super Mario World hacks. You might have trouble finding the Super Mario World hack that lets you learn Super Mario World hacks. I think that is a huge problem in the scene. There's like not really like, okay, I could maybe find one if I like really search for it now, because I think
you've seen like a tutorial or one that's
there are tutorials, but they're like the problem is like they're just not as precise as I would be as a designer, and it just frustrates me. But there's like just certain it's like it's mostly right, and then you'll hit like this wall, and then they'll say, well, you're gonna hit a wall in a Super Mario World hack, so this wall needs to be there. But like I don't think it needs to be there. I think like I don't know, just hook the player, and then eventually they'll be fine with the wall. But like there's no wall in Derelict Star that you hit in hour 1, right? Like,
well, the wall is like you find a qubit and you're too stubborn and you keep banging your head against it, which we should talk about that as well. But
like there's no wall that just completely blocks your progress, though. I mean that's part of the design, is that I intentionally made it open because like too many of my games just entirely wall off certain types of players. Like level 8, they hit it and they're just like, I can't do anything.
That was me in Control the Body the first time I played it, and I came back to it after Derelict Star and just absolutely loved it. And so I'm very interested in this question, even though I think I'm not the type of person anymore who bangs their head against an optional thing and gets frustrated and quits the game. But
it's extremely hard to fix that bit, like, because I'm that player too. Like the only way I learned was by frustrating myself, right? Like there's I had 20 people tell me don't play games like that, but like it doesn't it doesn't stick if you don't if I don't learn it myself. Like I don't know, that's like it's how I design games too. It's like I'm gonna try this thing and I'm gonna make it work, and then like people are telling me it's not gonna work, and then like half my projects die because it doesn't work. Like they were right.
yeah, it's a little different when you're designing a game. Like that's so unknown, and like
yeah,
when you're going into the unknown, like this is kind of why it's frustrating as a player, maybe, like when you're trying something and you feel like you're really close to getting it, and so you don't want to switch to doing something else. It's because like you don't really know how close you are to figuring this out.
Yeah,
You don't know how close you are to not feeling frustrated anymore or whatever. So
right, and it feels like it almost feels like you're like, because the problem I have the reason I was doing it for so long is because I felt like I was missing something. Like I don't like I hit a problem that I don't know how to solve, and then that immediately interests me more than anything else I've seen, right? Because
right.
it's like, oh, this is something that I don't understand at all. Um, and then like I felt like if I couldn't complete this, then I'm not like experiencing the game the way like the developer wanted me to experience it. Like I'm like missing some like abstract enjoyment that like I might get if I just like put my head down and like really push through this. But like what ends up happening in almost every game is like if you go off and do other stuff, you'll just get those skills naturally, and then you can just do the thing, and you don't have to.
It can be very cool to like go to the sicko stuff, like figure out some crazy thing right at the beginning and do that super early and feel like you had a really unique experience. Like that's cool. But then you get to the easier stuff and you're like, oh, this is kind of easy, and I know how to do all this because I learned like 20 lessons from one jump.
Like I try to like curb that somewhat by making like the areas somewhat unique anyway. So like even the easy stuff is like usually combinations of things you haven't seen in other areas for the most part. But yeah, there's not like, I tried not to make like too many areas hierarchical like that, where it's like this is just strictly a superset of this other thing.
Yeah, I did a lot of qubits before getting back to some of the power cell like main areas. And the main area still felt awesome and like surprising and fresh.
Yeah, because like that's something I noticed in like Outer Wilds or something. You play different, like, because like that's a game where I just went depth first, right? I didn't go breadth. I was just like, I want to figure out this specific thing and then this specific thing. But then there's like such a wealth of just different mechanics and interactions and stuff in that game that you can go to a different area after you've done sort of deep stuff in one area, and it feels very different.
Yeah, there's actually like a video. I've seen a video essay about like how people or why people struggle to get into Outer Wilds sometimes, and basically his conclusion, which I largely agree with, is that they go breadth first too much. They like don't get to any of the like big reveals. They just kind of like dip into every planet and they're like, okay, I ran around the planet.
Yeah, like you almost, it's like the hook isn't there if you don't see like what the game is capable of. Like you the breadth of what you imagine the game is shallow if you only go shallow, I think. I think
this game doesn't really, Derelict Star doesn't really have that problem though, I don't think, because there's just so much that's deep everywhere, and like it's a kind of a tighter game in a way. There's you can get to anywhere and try something new at any moment. Like I guess Outer Wilds just has a lot more downtime in a certain sense. I don't want to say that in a bad way, but like
I mean, I think like a large difference too is how like mechanically focused Derelict is versus Outer Wilds. I mean, Outer Wilds has like deep, interesting mechanics, but like a lot of Outer Wilds is just like learning information, right, and applying that information elsewhere, not necessarily in a mechanical sense.
Yeah, whereas now imagining like the weird momentum focused version of Outer Wilds, like there's weird stuff about like swinging around the planet and stuff.
I mean, that's part of the reason I stuck with Outer Wilds so long too, is that like, unlike Hollow Knight, I had fun moving in that game like immediately, because it's so like velocity, momentum-y. Like you can do crazy like loops around planets. I was like trying to jump around planets immediately just to like giant jumps and get sky high, right? And then try to land it without dying.
Yeah,
Like I was just having fun moving.
Someone should make the Outer Wilds fan game that just takes it in completely the wrong direction.
That's actually sick, though. I want to make an Outer Wilds Kaizo hack. That sounds so cool. Just terrible jumps everywhere.
So, were there other major inspirations for Derelict Star gameplay wise, other than Mario World? I mean, you mentioned Celeste. I don't know how much that was.
Yeah, I mean, Celeste is very like Celeste, because I've been playing Maddie's games since like she was making Jumper and stuff, like Game Maker days.
2004 or something, yeah.
Yeah, because like I was in that scene trying to make games too at that time. Like I was in junior high making like Pac-Man clones, right? And then I was playing Jumper and I was like, oh, this is so much cooler than a Pac-Man clone. I was like, there's so many things you can do. There's so much interesting movement and stuff. But yeah, I've been playing those games forever, and so I think like Jumper and then like Sylvie's games, but like Sylvie is also directly inspired by Jumper. So like we sort of have
Jumper was crazy like important, influential. That's Lord.
Yeah, like I Want to Be the Guy feels very Jumper, right? Like there's so many different little indie games that are inspired by Jumper. Because like I don't know, like in this, like I'm on the Game Maker forums and I'm scrolling down and the Jumper thread's got a gazillion posts in it, and I'm like, click on this, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I mean, I tried to make so many platformers in Game Maker and I was really bad at programming, and I'd always just like make platformers that like they just get stuck in the wall or like force through like a ceiling or whatever, and I couldn't do it. It was so hard. Like you mark something as solid in Game Maker and it means like literally nothing. You can never be in this thing, and then it just like pushes you out in wild directions, and it's so hard. They didn't have a good platformer tutorial in like the base set of tutorials. That's why I made a Pac-Man, because they had a Pac-Man.
Nice. You gotta just make like literally 400 platformers like Sylvie in Game Maker and become a Game Maker wizard, and then you can just put out a masterpiece in like that you made in like 8 hours or something.
Yeah, I mean, I that experience though did teach me how to make platformers. It's just like I made like 10 failed platformers, and then I finally started to understand how to make a platformer. Control the Body is actually based on one of my prototypes I made in Game Maker at some point. Like when I was really young, I took that like stick figure, because I had that
the mechanic, the core mechanic was the same. Let's actually talk about, let me kind of explain Control the Body a little bit. So one of your previous games is Control the Body. It's if you really love Derelict Star, I would recommend it, with the caveat that it's a little more unhinged, right? It's a little more,
it's definitely unhinged.
it's I mean it's self-aware about it, but it is more frustrating for sure. No, I didn't loop the footage. Sorry, let's loop the footage. Yeah, it's a little more, a little more unhinged, a little more frustrating. Like the movement system is meant to feel kind of wrong, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's a very interesting, intricate platformer in the same way as Derelict Star. Well worth playing. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I won't try to explain the actual mechanics of it, but what did you learn from Control the, like, were there specific design things that you wanted to do differently in Derelict Star compared to Control the Body, things like that?
Yeah, so like, yeah, Derelict Star is definitely informed by Control the Body. I like one of the things that I want to fix in my games, which is like it's like a repeating pattern where I just like I personally like the stupid deep nonsense stuff, right? But I also think that idea is more broad than what my games usually attract. So I'm continually trying to make an on-ramp for the terrible stuff.
Right.
So that's what, like, Derelict Star has a tutorial like area because I want there to be an on-ramp to Derelict Star. Whereas like Control the Body just throws you in the deep end immediately, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Derelict Star is like I think I was saying this in the Discord, but it feels like such a good like gateway game to a lot of the crazier platformers out there, and like the way that it does feel much more in line with like a like someone who beat Celeste, especially beating like B-sides and stuff like that. Like
sure, yeah,
absolutely handle the main game of Derelict Star, like a very large chunk of Derelict Star at the very least. But then it does get into some deep territory for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me happy though that people are perceiving Derelict Star that way, because I was like half convinced that like I'd release it and everyone was like I died in the tutorial and just gave up, right?
Did you try playtesting it with people kind of outside the hardcore platformer scene?
Yeah, like because I tested with some other game devs, and then some other game devs were just like had never played Super Mario before, as far as I could tell, because they didn't really like know how.
Not like we're not talking about testing it with Sylvie and Draken and stuff. We're talking about testing it with some random.
So like some other random people that I had found. Yeah.
Okay.
I also tested it with my sister, who only plays like Animal Crossing, and she was able both to get through the tutorial and to get through like the slime climb section.
That's the section to the right. Okay, yeah. That's cool. That's kind of, I mean, I'm always interested in stuff like this. Like it's very difficult to conceptualize what that type of person's experience is with
yeah
this.
I mean, I think some of it too is that like I didn't give her any guidance, but I am like sort of over her shoulder, so it's more like she feels, I think, more compelled to try to complete something rather than how she'd feel normally, which is just like, this is too much, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it's a motivation issue first and foremost for that type of player. Like they don't understand why this type of game is interesting if they're
right,
like Sims or whatever.
But like I was really happy because like the way she picked up on the controls extremely quickly, and like that was one of the design goals for the game. So like a part of Super Mario World that I haven't explained yet is that like when you're in the air in Super Mario World, if you're holding the jump button, you literally fall slower. It's not like I get a bigger jump when I hold jump. That is true, but it's like literally lowering the gravity. Like you don't fall as quickly when you hold jump in that game, but it's really subtle. So like as a casual player, you'll literally never notice that, I think. You'll maybe like internalize something about the jump, right? And you might be holding jump in places that you wouldn't, but I don't think you'll like cognitively understand that mechanic unless you play a Kaizo hack where they force you to cognitively understand that mechanic.
And then it is still probably going to be painful trying to figure it out, maybe.
Yeah. Like most hacks cannot teach you through gameplay that mechanic specifically. And that was one thing I was trying to do explicitly in Derelict Star, is to teach that mechanic through like visuals and gameplay. And so like the reason the dude has a backpack in my game is because that's the visual metaphor I need to use to tell you that you can hold jump in the air.
Like a jetpack? You're saying?
Yeah. Like the jetpack exists because it's there to teach that via visual metaphor.
Yeah, right? I think the audio helps a lot too. Even if and I don't know, the audio in this game I just think is great. Like it conveys the momentum. Like there's just a really satisfying like chunk sound when you hit the ground really hard, stuff like that. But yeah, of course the jetpack audio and visuals I think makes that abundantly clear. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's just I feel like we are really lacking this like kind of game that bridges the gap between like the giant audience that can enjoy Celeste and like the tiny cult of Sylvie or whatever.
Yeah, and so like my sister was able to like do what most people consider like advanced Super Mario World moves without me telling her how to do them. Right? She just felt it out on the controller and saw the the metaphor of the jetpack and then like understood it intuitively and didn't have to like I didn't have to tell her what quote a regrab is, right? Like she didn't have to learn what a regrab is. She just did it.
Okay, I don't know what a regrab is, but
yeah. So I'll explain that if you want. It's basically so in Super Mario World, right? When you're holding jump, you're falling more slowly. But when you jump on an enemy in Super Mario World, there are basically two different things that can happen. If you're holding jump, you'll jump high off the enemy.
Yeah.
If you're not holding jump, you'll kind of just bop it and just fall. Like you'll just do a tiny little jump. And so there's like these scenarios they set up in Super Mario World hacks, which are basically like there's a turtle here, there's like spikes above it, right? And you're jumping on the turtle, but you're not holding jump because if you hold jump, you're gonna hit the spikes.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in the footage right now to show while you're talking. I think
so. Like, there's a specific bubble section in that slime climb, that I'm talking about, where so like basically, if you hold jump on those bubbles, you're gonna hit your head in my game and knock yourself out, and you can't get through that section by holding jump and hitting the bubbles. But I start making the bubbles like increasingly farther away. And so at a certain point, you have to land on the bubble without pressing jump and then hold jump so that you float in the air more to get to the next bubble. And that's what is called a regrab in the Super Mario World community. And you have to explicitly tell players about regrabs because they're never going to figure it out on their own. Like even the learning hacks I've seen, they always just have a text box that tells you this is what a regrab is. This is the exact sequence of buttons you need to press, right? Yeah. Like there's no way to teach that in Super Mario World because the effect is too subtle for you to even notice in the first place. And then on top of that, it's a really complicated series of inputs that you have to do quickly. So like in Derelict Star, I slow down the game for, I guess, two reasons. One is the resolution's really low, so you can't have someone go super fast anyway because you would just like be out of the screen immediately all the time. But the other reason is that it just lowers the input density, right? Yeah. Like trying to play a Super Mario World hack is like Twister on a controller, right? Like it's not, especially because it has like two different run and jump buttons, and they like the two different jump buttons do different things.
What?
And so like
okay.
if you're trying to play it on a Super Nintendo controller, I literally had to learn how to switch my grip between those two buttons, which is wild. I've never had to do that for any other game. I would have loved to be able to get that in the game, but I was like, there's no way I can teach anyone this. This is terrible.
Derelict Star does get into. So from what you're describing, it seems like a lot of the basics, like the first couple areas, are very like Super Mario World in terms of the stuff that you're thinking about and having to learn. But it gets into some stuff that I imagine is very not Super Mario World.
Yeah, so like certain mechanics are definitely Super Mario World informed, but then like as you're making a game, you're just sort of reacting to the things you're putting in it. And I was like, oh, this might be interesting, this might be interesting, and then you just like go off in different branches. I mean, part of it too is that I've played enough Super Mario World that like super hard regrab like rooms I've done before, and so like that's not as interesting to design, right? It's way more interesting to design some mechanic that I haven't seen before, so I tended to like focus on the mechanics that were more unique to this game because those are more fun to design.
Right. Did you worry at all about the experience of like a hardcore Super Mario World hack person coming and being like, this feels the same? I mean, I imagine it wouldn't really feel the same, but
it doesn't really feel the same because it's so much more floaty and weird that I think even like people that played it, I think of people that have played Super Mario World are going to feel like way more comfortable with it than most people do at the beginning. Like a lot of my reviews on Steam are like, this is the weirdest platforming I've ever felt in my life, or like this is floaty but somehow it's also good, I don't get it, right? Like I get a bunch of reviews like that. But
yeah, I guess the more normal, maybe the worry was more like people will think this is floaty in the bad way that people normally mean when they say floaty.
Yeah, like I mean, that was part of the impetus of making the game too, because I see so many indie platformers that just like have no momentum at all. And like when I play Super Mario World, I'm like, this is dope and every game should control like this. And I don't know why I don't see more like indie games that don't control like Mega Man. Like I'm fine with a game that controls like Mega Man, but it feels like every game controls like Mega Man nowadays, because like people
Right.
are like, I can't have like these fuzzy controls and I can't get precision when I have to deal with stateful movement. I mean, maybe they're not as well articulated as I'm saying. But...
Yeah, I'm having a hard time imagining the Steam reviewer saying something like that. But yeah, I guess it is just like there's definitely a fear of exactly what you see players complaining about in games generally, instead of like, okay, I want to do something that is in this department. How do I make them like it anyway? How do I make them realize that that's not actually what they have a problem with, like this floaty thing, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of, honestly, it is sort of alienating to me when I like read Steam reviews that are like, this is the most alien thing in the world. Like, this is the weirdest game I've ever played, and I don't understand how anyone would come up with this. And I'm like, I don't. It was like felt natural for me to make. You know, it's not like I started from the premise of like, all right, I'm gonna try to make the weirdest platformer I can. That is not at all the premise I started with. It was that I think it's fun to have stateful platformers that, you know, play with momentum, and I think there needs to be more of them in the world. And so I was like, let's make this game, because I'm very familiar with like sort of the genre, and I think it can execute on like making an on-ramp for this type of game.
Yeah, alien is a weird description for sure. I don't know. Let's not get bogged down in trying to interpret Steam reviewers, or wherever these came from. But yeah, here's one thing I didn't actually look into, but I am curious about, is the hint system. There is a hint system in this game, and that kind of obviously relates to trying to make the game more accessible, or more approachable, or friendly to more people. Yeah, tell us about how that works and how you thought about it.
Sure. So like I initially didn't have the hint system. I didn't even have any assists, I think, when I play tested it. I mean, some of my playtesters eventually did, because I had later ones. But yeah, the initial playtesters didn't have any hints or any assists, nor did they have like the final graphics, because I like went through and like made all the areas look way more unique. So I think they were just like lost too, because like everything looked the same.
Right. Yeah.
But basically, the way that the reason I made the hint system is because I saw a lot of like playtesters that were in what I considered my core audience, which is like people that are like curious and like want to learn a system, right? But they were getting stuck on like specific minor details, and then just didn't know how to progress, and then felt like, ooh, maybe this game isn't for me, because like I'm clearly missing something, and there's nothing here to teach it, right? And so like that hint system took me like, I don't know, it's like 2 weeks of work. Like it was like full-time 2 weeks of work, like me writing all those things. It's basically a wiki inside the game. Like it has links, like it has cross links to different topics. Like you can go to like this, and it'll cross link, it'll be like, oh, this affects this mechanic, and you can click that mechanic. I have like full explanations of how the UI works. I have full explanations of how the movement system works. Like it's
did you think about framing it as a wiki? Because like people love wiki games apparently.
Yeah, so like I didn't really realize it was like a wiki until I had Terry Kavanagh test it. And he was playing it, and then he, I guess, popped into the help after he was sort of done playing it, just to see what it was like. And he was like, oh, this is, I don't know if he said it was like a wiki. Maybe I made that connection after I don't know. I don't know who made the connection, but he basically said he didn't like that I was like scolding you for like looking at it, because I had some like language in there that it wasn't quite scolding, but it was a bit like, there's a
Judgy.
right way to play the game, yeah. Right? Like, but then I thought about it, and I was like, oh yeah, like a wiki doesn't scold you for like looking at it. So I think I was like, that's a great like framing, like a frame of mind I should be in when I'm like writing this thing, is like, it's just informational, right? Like it doesn't, I don't want to like, because like I'm not trying to like discourage you from looking at it. Obviously, that's stupid. And in fact, there's enough like social pressure not to look at it anyway, that you literally need no text explaining like this is this is the right or the wrong way to play the game, because like people already have preconceptions that's the wrong way to play the game when they're going in the hint menu.
For sure.
Right. So like I needed the most neutral language possible, because if you make it positive, then it feels like you're like, I don't know, you're like a weird jester or something. Like, hey, please look at my hints. Like, I don't know.
That would be an interesting direction.
But so, yeah. So like I came up with that because like I felt it solved a problem with a specific type of person, and it's intentionally not like, oh, I'm on this screen, what is the solution to this screen? Because I wanted sort of that same curiosity to drive the like looking through the wiki as the curiosity I want in the game itself, right? Like I don't want it to too readily give you the answers, because I feel like that's not the type of person that wants to play the game anyway, right? Like I wanted some like whatever. I wanted it to sort of relate to how you play the game too.
Yeah, I mean the typical use case that I imagine that seems good to me is just like, you know, someone plays most of the game and sees that there is a ton left in there, and it's somehow too much for them, and they, you know, want to figure out, did I understand all the details here, and maybe get a little more out of a little more understanding of the system.
Mm-hmm. I've heard specific examples of people in my Discord telling me they used hints for X or Y, and they're usually the way I want them to use it, because it's like they'll be like maybe doing some momentum heavy area, and then they're like stuck on a certain jump, and then it turns out they're stuck on that jump because they didn't understand a mechanic, and so after beating their head on it for a while, they're like, oh, let's look at the hint menu and see what it says, and that gives them a little push. It's not strictly like a wiki, I guess, too. I don't know how much you've been in it, but like it has
I didn't look at it at all.
Okay,
I should have.
It's like set up like a wiki, and it's got like links to things, but then it also hierarchically like has a hint system where it like reveals hints as you click them. So like I basically I have like headers, and then under those headers there's a bunch of like spoiler boxes.
This seems very involved. This seems now I'm starting to understand the 2 weeks of work.
Yeah, because it wasn't just writing. It's like all the writing, and then like the coding around the UI, and making that UI work in 128 by 128 resolution is terrible, by the way. That's like a hard problem. But yeah, so like the there's like hint boxes, and I basically say like it's from least specific to most specific. So you reveal the first hint box, and it gives you like sort of a vague understanding of how it works, and then you click the next one, it gives you a little more detail. So it's like yeah,
I mean, I've seen people give hints like that on Steam forums and stuff like that, and it seems to work really well.
Yeah, so it's very similar to that.
I wonder how many people just can't control themselves and click all of them at the beginning, but
yeah. I mean, it doesn't really bother me either way. I think one of the things that like I was able to lean on in the design of Derelict Star that I'm not necessarily able to lean on in a lot of other games I make is that like the core of the game, like the core movement and the core like moving around, is solid enough and fun enough that even if you like spoil mechanics, it's still fun to execute. So like it sort of works even if you decide to spoil yourself. It maybe doesn't work to the same degree, but it's still like fun to move around in. Like it's the main draw for me in Super Mario World is that it's just fun to move in, right? And so I tend to like the Mario World levels that like force you into certain moves a little less, because I like that sort of freedom of movement that Mario gives you. If it starts to get too constrained, then you start to lose me, because it's just like do this memorized sequence of inputs instead of like experiment in a playground, right?
Yeah, that actually brings up something else like that I wanted to talk about, because this game is like, so it's got some like exploration kind of gameplay, you could say, but even ignoring that, just thinking about the pure like platforming going through the levels, like this is an incredibly varied game. Like if different areas and different specific challenges have very different flavors, and so I'm curious about which of those flavors were you trying to get all of those flavors in there? Were you trying to get, you know, have a lot of variety for the sake of pacing, or because you just enjoy all those things? And how did you think about like do different players want all of these, you know, all of these different kinds of flavors? I mean, for example, like, you know, a very tricky puzzly section where you have to figure out a new way to use like your momentum, whatever, is going to feel very different from like an extended, like, you know, do a bunch of precise inputs without a checkpoint type of things, just as a very simple example of what I'm talking about.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, some of that is just like, I don't know. I'm designing games based on my intuition that's been built from playing way too many games. So like I naturally am drawn to variety in games. I don't tend to play just like one genre. I mean, like maybe if you looked at Derelict Star only and then you'd like tried to extrapolate what games I'd play, you'd just assume I'd play only platformers. But like it's more that I just get deep into whatever I happen to get into, and it changes like month to month. Like maybe I'll be super into first person shooters, you know, some month, and then next month I'm playing all Sylvie games or something, right? Like it's just I'm naturally like drawn to sort of that variety of challenge. And like as a player, the thing I dislike most in a game is if, given the slice of game I've seen, can I guess what the rest of the game is like? And so like I think what you're seeing there in Derelict Design is like a consequence of that line of thought. Like I'm not like necessarily like making sure everything has variety on purpose, but it's like in the back of my mind, it's like I want to make sure that the player can't just guess what the rest of the game looks like based on one slice of the game.
Sure.
Because like that's what drives me to play games a lot of the time. It's just like if the game is creative enough to like keep showing me new things, I get super excited because it's like, okay, I just can't predict what like this game's gonna show me. And like there could be like, you know, like that unknown is really alluring, I think. Right?
Yeah, it is interesting, like, though, like for example, there are some very specific things that like show up once. There's like what can I say here? There are specific weird flavors that only show up once, and then there are flavors that show up repeatedly. And I am interested in trying to get at what that says about your taste, or about what you think your players' tastes are. Like okay, I'll just say there is something like a speedrun challenge somewhere in the game that's kind of optional thing, and you know, you can very easily imagine something like that showing up in every area. You know, you can imagine a ton of stuff like that. And yeah, well, I guess what were the main flavors that you were going for, if you can try to get at that a little bit?
I think my design there is like sort of related to things I've seen Sylvie say before, which is basically she's often picking mechanics that she just hasn't seen before. And so like I'm tending towards stuff that I'm not as familiar with. So like the reason there's not a speedrun section in each like area is because that's the main mode that most Super Mario World hacks operate on.
Sure.
Right? Like there's almost every Super Mario World hack will kill you if you stand still for more than 2 seconds. They'll kill you with some stupid like a spike will fall from the ceiling, or like a fire bar will rotate, or like whatever, right? Like the game, like Super Mario World hacks want you to like do some specific sequence of movements, and
it's usually nonstop. You're over a pit of spikes the whole time. Is my impression of a lot of them.
Right, and even if something doesn't immediately kill you, you can get effectively killed by being in the wrong state. So like if you slow down too much, now there's no way to build momentum and you're stuck on this platform, right? So like the reason it doesn't have that flavor a lot is because I like this like there's like a sub community of Mario Maker players that make like precision levels, which aren't all at all about momentum. It's just like there's a bunch of spikes and all these like weird jumps that you have to do to avoid the spikes, but it's not go go go. You can just take your time. I never really liked those levels very much, but this game was slow. Like the Derelict Star was slow and precise enough that I was like, I think I should explore this particular flavor of level design because I've not seen a version of it I like super love, and I think this game's mechanics are starting to like congeal in a way that's going to be super conducive to that style of play. So like the reason everything is like more tuned, like there's a bunch of stuff that's like tuned to slow precision in Derelict Star is because I found that interesting and I hadn't played many games like that.
Cool. Yeah, I think it definitely works for the game. I'm assuming that you you really just started with the like figuring out the mechanics, like making the jump and making the momentum and all of that stuff feel like you made the systems kind of almost in a vacuum, and then everything else followed from that. Is that
Yeah, that's correct. So like literally I tried to make Super Mario World in Pico 8, and then you have to make changes because, you know, the resolution's not big enough to like make him move as fast as Mario. And you have to, and then like I wanted to clarify certain mechanics that weren't very clear in Mario, so like the P speed is a lot more regular. And then when I'm in a spacesuit and I have a debug view, I'm like, ooh, I should really make momentum work correctly and not like it does in Mario World, where if you jump off a moving platform, you just have, it's like jumping off of non-moving platforms, right? It doesn't, you don't maintain momentum. I'm like, this needs to maintain momentum because I've built this like visual like metaphor of a spaceman, and spacemen obey momentum.
Yeah. So how did like the vibe of the game emerge from the mechanics? Like
I don't know if it, I always like games with dark backgrounds, so I made a game with a dark background because I like dark backgrounds, right? That's where it started. In terms of like the vibe itself, I don't know. Like I feel like when I'm deep diving into one of these, like because I get like mechanical obsessions. Like I get obsessed with like certain mechanics in different games. And so when I'm making my own game, it often feels like this really insular, like weird self-examination of like my obsession with whatever I'm obsessed with at the moment. So like it always feels like insular and sort of isolating, and so like I think like some of the theme comes from that too, where it's like you're intentionally alone on the space station. It's isolating. And then it's like this deep dive into like something that you can't really, it's not really like an experience you can share with other people necessarily. They have to experience it too to understand it, right? So like, yeah, it's sort of in that realm.
Yeah, I think it is a common kind of feeling for games to go for that reason. You know, you kind of have to experience games by yourself to some degree. Like it's games are about what's happening in your head, you know. Even if other people are involved, like the cool part is making some weird thing happen in your head, at least in my mind. Yeah, so so I'm interested in the music as well, which has to follow from the vibe, I guess. And the music, I think the music in this game is amazing. I actually was so I've been subscribed to you on YouTube. I don't know if you knew this, but for a long time. So you were posting like songs from this game long before I knew that the game existed.
And yeah, that's true.
One of them, like, I have listened to many times. It's I think it's the song Parasite. But anyway, there's some bangers in this game, and they have well, I don't know. People can listen to the music for themselves. But yeah, how did you settle on the kind of direction for that? Were there like songs that you cut because they didn't fit? And how did you get so good at making music as a game developer?
I cannot answer that last question. I have no idea. I think it's largely because like I grew up in like a very religious household, and I like was forced to go to church over and over again, right? And the only thing that I enjoyed there was music. And so like I think I attached to it that way. My dad was also like a jazz trumpeter, and so he was super into music. But like I never formally did any music. I didn't do choir, I didn't do band. Like I
Yeah.
never like engaged with that when I was younger. It was literally only like I made my first song 5 years ago when I made Heat Death, and I need to make an opening track for that song. That's the first time I ever like formally made music. Like I played around with like little synthesizer things before, but never like recorded anything. Yeah.
That is very impressive.
And so like in general, I have a way harder time describing what I'm influenced by music because it's so heavily intuition. Like I've played enough games that, and I like a program like I you know went to school for programming, so like there's always like some mechanical level I can fall back to in game design where I'm like, here's some like techniques I can do to fix certain things, right? But like music, I had no idea, and so it was just intuition on like literally when I was starting, I didn't know how to fix any problem I ever ran into, and I just had to like iteratively try different things until something worked, right? Because like the only feedback mechanism I had is you change something and then I have to listen to it and then I'm like, is this good or not, right?
Right.
So like it's really hard to like come up with rules for yourself on how to make music when it's just like a binary yes no at the end.
Yeah.
But like that process was basically it's me playing around with the Pico 8 the Pico 8 tracker, which was like simple enough that it was sort of inviting. It wasn't exactly inviting, but it wasn't like so complicated that it just pushes me away immediately like most trackers I had tried before.
Right.
And so like that process was just me playing around with notes and seeing what sounded good and what didn't. And like at first I was really like unconfident about like, ooh, am I accidentally making like something that doesn't align with Western music theory or something, or like am I accidentally like, and then I started to realize it doesn't matter.
It super doesn't matter.
Yeah,
at least not
like,
to me.
Like I started being like, is this chord dissonant or not? And it just doesn't matter.
Or maybe it's good, or maybe it's even a good thing if it doesn't align with.
Right. Like you want to like I started like trusting myself like that yes no at the process more. And so like a lot of my music is just it's just me playing around with the tracker. I really love tools. Like I started thinking about tools really specifically after starting to make Pico 8 games. Well, and Puzzle Script, honestly, in terms of like the way tools transform how you think about a creative process. And so like I've intentionally picked music tools that force me into weird constraints, and then I make creative solutions to those constraints. So like the thing I'm using isn't like a DAW. I'm not like making this in like Ableton or something, the music for Derelict Star. It's made on like this weird little handheld tracker called the M8. I mean, I think the actual version is like $600 and it's like this expensive like clicky clacky keyboard, like nice, professional music thing. But I cannot drop $600 on it on a thing to make music. So I they actually provide like a headless version of it. You can flash it onto like a little like Arduino type like mini microcontroller and plug that into your computer and then make music with it. So that's what I used for this. It's like it's limited to 8 tracks. It steals its interface from a weird Game Boy tracker that someone made, a pretty famous one, LSDJ. Like people like Chip Zill use it. For like Super Hexagon, all that music was made on LSDJ, I think. But
gotcha.
But
that's cool.
Yeah, so like it's and in terms of like musical like where I get these ideas from, I don't really know. I'm very like pop focused in music I listen to personally. It tends to be like weirder pop, but it is like pretty poppy. And I think that through line does come through because like a lot of my music is really melodically focused, right? At the same time, when I was making the game, I was like, this melodic focus doesn't really align with like the vibe of being alone very well. And so that's sort of why the music is more interstitial, or like it just shows up sometimes and goes away later,
Yeah.
because like I want to give a vibe, but I don't want it to be like the main focus.
Yeah, I was really curious about that. Like, it seems like it appears like when you go into a new area, like a song will play and then it might not play for quite a while if you stay in the same area. Like that I thought was a super interesting decision, but like, did you get that from somewhere in particular, or did you just kind of settle on that somehow?
I would say I would say a significant portion of my sound design is informed by Knit, like the Nifless game,
Oh,
Knit.
okay. Yeah.
hmm Because I super liked that game when I was younger, but like that game, it does the same thing. It has like musical stings in certain places, and then it just doesn't have music in other places. It's just like
Right.
environmental sounds or something. Since I'm in a space station, I just got rid of the environmental sounds entirely and just made sure like the footsteps sound good, and then
Yeah,
that's
I
what.
didn't remember that Knit did that.
hmm
That's cool. I was thinking the thing that came to my mind was Rain World, which
Mm,
um I think is like even more like stingy with the music and like
sure,
weirdly
yeah.
specific. Like you're running through this area from this particular spot to this particular spot. We're gonna play this song, and then like later in the game, you're going back through this area from this spot to this spot. We're gonna play this song just
Yeah, I mean,
one
I'll,
time.
I'll I'll certainly take the comparison. I love to be compared to Rain World. It's a great comparison.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, that was super interesting. What else? What have we not talked about? Oh yeah, the spotlight concept
Mm.
is another very strange design decision that I think works really really well for a few reasons. But I'll let you start by talking about what you were thinking about and how you arrived at that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I came at it from like two different directions. There was basically I'd played, I think I've played 150 or 200 hours of Doom the in the development of this game. Like I literally played so
Okay.
much Doom. But the thing I love about Doom is the the way light works visually in that game is it just palette swaps down to the next lower palette. So like they just have like a base palette for the game, and
Uh-huh.
then below that they just have like a darker version of that palette and then a darker version of that palette. But since they're limited on the amount of colors they have, it sort of cycles through like weird colors sometimes when you're going down. But it makes this really cool looking light in my opinion. Like when you're walking around a Doom level, it looks sick because it has like this spotlight. I noticed a similar thing in like Demon Souls does a similar thing where it has like this spotlight on you that like illuminates the world in this like really strange way. Like it's not a natural light at all. It's just like it looks like a ball around your character.
Mm.
Um, and then like things like Diablo 2 do something similar sometimes too. It's just like a ball on your character. Here's some light. And for
All
whatever
those
reason,
games feel very different from doing it in a game like this, though.
yeah, but like that's where the aesthetic I think came from. Is
Yeah,
that like me noticing like this sort of ball of light aesthetic that I continually liked in all these disparate games. I'm like
that's cool.
I want a ball of light. The other thing that informed it was the puzzle of making the ball of light work in Pico 8. That was a main driver of why I like implement things. Is this an interesting programming puzzle? So like it was very compelling because Pico 8 is very limited in like what it can do. And
That
so I
sounds like a
figured,
problem. Like as you get better as a developer, you're gonna have to like use more and more terrible tools to make it more puzzly to figure out what you want to do.
honestly, I don't even think it's a problem because like it like the Pico 8 prototype did not take me that long, and it also didn't take me that long to translate that to Godot. And I've done similar things on songs before too. So like when my like the original version of Parasite is in the Pico 8 tracker. I don't know if you've listened to that one, but it's the same
Mm,
song, but in Pico 8. I have it on my
yeah.
YouTube if you go through
Yeah,
my
I think that's the
reverse
version that
chronological.
I think that's the version I was listening to a lot. It's
And yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's interesting because like it like when your tool like cuts down on your options, you suddenly have to make weird decisions, right?
right.
Or it's even like this tool is so simple. How do I get anything expressive out of it? Which is an interesting problem. Like the way I'm getting the expressive things I get out of the Pico 8 tracker are because it has these weird little corners that like, oh, I can make this track play at a different BPM as this track. Let's see what happens when I do that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how I made Parasite, is because I was just playing around with the the features of like the tool, right? And so like you don't get that if you open Ableton and you're just like, let's make a song. I don't know where to start, right? Like it's just it's you're gonna make something, but it's not gonna be nearly as interesting because you're not having to solve a problem. I mean, I guess that's sort of the trick, is that like my I never, like, when I was growing up, I never thought of myself as creative. Like my teachers would like say I'm creative, but like from my perspective, I was just like, this is math. How do you be creative in math? Like I'm just doing I'm just following the steps and doing the steps. So like I always thought of myself as very logical. And it took me a very long time to realize like I can be creative, but I sort of have to like prime myself to be creative. And the way I prime myself to be creative is like actually make an interesting problem, right? Like my brain
Right.
doesn't like to be creative in a vacuum. I don't know if anyone's does actually.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I mean, there are definitely individual differences here, but like everyone talks about, constraint breeding
Mm-hmm.
creativity and all of these related things.
Because
Um,
like it's just like I need some sort of interesting problem, and then I'm like, ooh, let's figure out how this works. And so like yeah, the Pico 8 Lite thing was just like me figuring out, ooh, I can use the sprite sheet as a buffer and then blit this to this, right? And then like, ooh, now I have a little light effect. Yeah.
that's crazy. Um, but yeah, the spotlight, like it has some there's interesting gameplay stuff that happens with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I mean, so first of all, it's a source of a lot of the visual distinction between different areas, which I think is really cool. Like some areas, like everything outside the spotlight is like completely dark almost, and then like in one of the first areas, like the mushrooms are lit outside the spotlight. But
Mm-hmm.
then like you know it allows, like gameplay wise, it allows a single screen to kind of have two reads, right? Like you have the initial read when you first see the screen, and then there's more
Yeah.
information that you get when you get closer to certain things. Did you use that intentionally in some ways? It definitely feels like it's explored. This idea is explored in some areas. I'm trying not to say specific screens, but
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely intentional. I think the way I started with it, it wasn't necessarily intentional, but that's like what's fun in game design, is like you just add weird disparate things that you're interested in, and then
yeah.
you notice things that you can do with it, and then you get to um yeah, make interesting mechanics around it. Like I'll explain it by analogy so I don't spoil the game. But like I have an older game, Heat Death, where it's basically like a Robotron clone, like a top-down eight-way shooter. Um, and when you kill enemies in that game, I thought it would look cool to like have little pixels on the ground to like when they die, they like explode into pixels, and those pixels like fill the ground, and so you get to see like the result of your carnage or whatever at the end of each stage. Um, but as I was implementing that, I was like, oh, there's actually some like gameplay implications here that I could like interact. Like I could let the player interact with these pixels in some way. And so like when I was designing the power ups for that game, I eventually made a power up where you can put down like a square on the background, and it'll like suck up the pixels, and then you get firepower proportional to the number of pixels you sucked up from the background.
This is
And
also
that
a Syncopause thing, by the way. But I have to shout out Syncopause here. But in an action game,
yeah, yeah, I didn't like make that mechanic thinking, oh, this is going to lead to like some cool gameplay interaction. It's just like happens naturally in the course of like thinking about a game. Like I like in terms of game design, I super recommend just like letting it breathe. Like make part of it. If you're not feeling it, sit back a bit, you know, think about it for a while passively, and then when you come back to it, suddenly there's all these new possibilities because you've like taken what used to be like I would describe like the mechanics and like visual design and almost everything that I put into Derelict initially felt very disparate to me. Like it wasn't like I put it in there because I thought it would work well together. It's just I put stuff in there because that was stuff I was interested in. And the cool thing is that you can given enough space and time, your brain just like makes all these little connections between all these disparate pieces of your work, and you can like build something that feels very cohesive from something that was maybe not cohesive intentionally at the beginning, right?
Yeah, Derelict feels crazy cohesive to me.
Yeah,
For
and
how
like
big it is, how much stuff it gets into.
yeah, and I was super happy to get that feedback because I'm like, yeah, that's great because like I would say 60% of the development time it did not feel cohesive at all. Like it's just
No, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I lost my thought once you interrupted me.
My bad.
No
Well, hopefully we'll get back to it. But related to that, like the cohesiveness, I'm curious how the world design and like how you planned for different exploration paths to work, how that evolved over time. Did you move areas around a lot and things like that?
I did not.
Really?
I basically, so like I understood from the beginning that I'd need some like sort of more open areas at the beginning so that they act as like funnels, right, to different places. Like you need like enough space at the beginning to have enough places to branch to.
Sure.
But like once I made that part, and like I sort of blocked out some places that I knew I wanted stuff later. But in general, I don't think I moved a single area. Like I
Right.
placed it down and then that's where it stayed.
Huh.
It's I think it matters. I think it matters less than you would think it matters, because I've talked to other game devs about this before, where I think I've even had a conversation with Daniel before where he's like trying to like plan out this like, you know, open world thing, and it's like, how do you plan this and this? It turns out like you can kind of just be iterative about it.
Yeah.
Like just put some idea, honestly, like trying to front load design with like a bunch of thinking at the start almost never works for me. I like it's what you think would work, and it just does not work. You cannot outline a game, really. At least I can't. Somebody probably
Yeah, it's crazy complicated. But that's why I thought you might have gone back and changed and moved things around after the fact. But,
yeah, but like the way it ends up working is that like I don't know, like as you see players play through, because like I did have play testing and I did change a bunch of stuff, right? So it's not like I had like one version of the levels and I had everyone play it and that was just the version. But like the changes you tend to make don't have to be like that drastic in general. Like a lot of the changes I made was just making the middle of the map more open, because a lot of people weren't finding stuff in the middle of the map because it was like too constrained to get there. So I made like 3 or 4 alternate paths to get certain places in the middle of the map, and that ended up like opening up the map enough that everything didn't feel that hidden anymore. Like it felt like people could reasonably get there without much like pushing. So
okay.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. You'd think it would matter more, but in general, I don't like. I can't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're making some massive multi-area thing, it maybe starts to matter. But like at the scale Derelict is, I think Derelict is very big, but it's also very like contained too, right? It's not.
It also has like teleporting around. There's not going to be a lot of backtracking like in Metroid or whatever. Which, you know, I assume from the beginning. I assume you never really thought about this as like a Metroidvania or that kind of direction at all, just because it started from the mechanics and you were going to have all the mechanics, right? You're going to have all access to everything.
Yeah. I started with the assumption that you're just going to have access to everything, and like there were certain parts where I thought maybe I would have unlocks in the form of like the terminal. Like the terminal event initially was like planned to be more interacty, but I got like so much mileage out of the other mechanics that it wasn't necessary. So I didn't end up like developing the two. Like the terminal is weirdly detailed for how much it does or doesn't matter. I don't know how you perceive how much it matters or not, but like it's like there's a lot of UI that went into that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that much in terms of like, somebody could beat the whole game without the terminal, as evidenced by that one person in my Steam.
What I was thinking about, yeah.
In my Steam forum that had non-rendering text and still
blamed me, threw me under the bus. This guy totally loves my recommendations, but is willing to immediately throw me under the bus when I recommend a game that doesn't work. Anyway, but yeah, if for anyone who's listening and doesn't understand, someone in the Steam forums was saying that they played for 4 hours and they were loving the game and everything, but the text was not rendering properly, and it took them 4 hours to realize it because I guess I recommend such weird games that they just assumed that was intended. That the text just did not render. It was just rendering giant blobs, which I think is kind of hilarious. But
yeah, like I don't know, like it's sort of like pruning a tree. Like you're building the foundation, and then it grows a bunch of branches, and then you're like, okay, like if I run out of things to mine on this branch, I can just like move to this branch over here, and then when you don't need the branch, you can just cut it off and then be like, I've got a weird terminal system in my game. That's right.
The other thing that's very involved about the terminal is the terms of service.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the percentage of players who choose to read the
It's weirdly high, because I think it gets them with the curiosity, and then a lot of them then get frustrated and start like scrolling through it quickly.
It's exactly the like, I don't know what I expected.
Yeah. Like I really like self-inflicted punishment.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, I think we've more or less covered what I wanted to talk about. I'm curious if the chat has anything. If there have been questions, by the way, I normally have the chat on the screen, but I have banished you all for today to make room for 2 cameras. But I am reading the chat, both YouTube and Twitch. So if you have questions, now it's a good time, and we'll try to talk about them. But yeah, one other thing, I was interested in the shift in the way that the optional stuff works from Control the Body to Derelict. Like in Control the Body, there's like, well, there's a few ways in which it's different, but one way is that there's like 3 tiers, and each tier kind of has an ending, quote unquote, or it has like a specifying like, you could maybe stop here after you got all the greens or after you got all the yellows and whatever. Derelict Star is like, there are 250 or whatever qubits, and I mean, it does signal the difficulty and stuff. But yeah, I'm curious if you were reacting to Control the Body there and trying to do something different, or what?
It's more that honestly, I kind of love how Control the Body works, and I just didn't know how to explain that to a giant game. So like, it's more that I just don't know how to do that in Derelict, rather than me reacting to it. A lot of things that I tried in Control the Body, I ended up like really liking, but then I don't necessarily know how to expand those to other games. So it's not necessarily reaction. It is definitely informed by the Control the Body, but it's not like I thought, let's try something different. It was just more like, this game suits itself to something different. Like it's I don't really know how to force that into the structure that Control the Body has, so I'm not going to try, basically.
Gotcha. I could keep talking about that. I have some things occurring to me, but let's look at the chat. So Sam JRO says, where did you get the idea for the limited information map screen?
That is also Knit inspired. So Knit, I think I read something that Niflis wrote at some point about Knit that talked about like sort of you hold down a button in Knit and it gives you like a light beam to the closest item to pick up, I think is how it works in Knit 1. And Niflis said he was inspired by Shadow of the Colossus.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And so my radar is intentionally not a map, because I hate when people just stare at maps in games. Honestly, I got soured on maps by playing too much Diablo 2, where at some point you just literally have the map on the screen the entire time, right? You have like a see-through map on the screen, and then you just like look at the map and you don't even pay attention to the game you're playing anymore. You're just like, here's a map. And
it bothers me for sure.
So like I kind of hate like this like, even in games, like I can't help, as a player, I cannot help myself looking at a map, right? I'm playing even in, so let's take the most recent example I can remember of me playing a game with a map, which is the UFO 50 game that's a Metroidvania. What is that game called?
Moon? I forget. Is it the Moon whatever?
No. I like Mooncat.
I haven't played UFO 50. I've just heard people talk about that one.
Yeah. Anyway, there's like a map in that game, and I think you can only look at it in checkpoints. But even looking at it only at checkpoints, I just like find myself staring. It's like, okay, I got to go 2 rooms left, and then 1 room up, and then 1 room left, and then 1 room up, right? And I hate doing that, but I do it because it's there.
Right.
And so, like, I intentionally didn't want to give the players a map because I hate that. And then I knew people were going to complain about it. And I actually didn't get as much complaining as I thought I'd get about it. Like, all the complaining I get is, like, really measured. They're like, I personally would like it this way, but don't change a thing, is the feedback I usually get, which is very great. I mean, that's nice. But, like, I wanted a system that would, like, give you enough information to point you in a direction, but not so much information that you're going to stare at the map trying to figure out how to get there. So the reason the radar works like it is because it's the same reason it works like that in like Nit. I want to keep the player in the world more than them staring at a map screen. So like I want the player to like try to navigate to X or Y position. I want the player to just physically try it, right? And then it feels less like busy work too, because like it I don't know. I find myself using the map in a Metroidvania, and then I'm like annoyed that it's like it feels like busy work of me like counting screens and doing whatever. And the thing about it is too, though, like the map does give you enough information to count screens if you want to. So like I'm not like trying to preclude that play style from people either. If they want to count screens, they can count screens. I'm just trying to like
make that not the default.
Yeah, funnel people into like a certain experience. like you make things in design hard but not impossible, because like you don't want to preclude someone from doing it a certain way, but you want to encourage people to do it a certain way. So
cool. So Sam also said the fact that your character's monologue, quote, your ability to improve exists theoretically, but so far it has yet to be confirmed by any of your formal experiments, as an example, is blended with the terminal in such a nice way to convey character interiority. Curious if there's an inspiration there.
I don't know. Not off the top of my head. I'm sure there's an inspiration somewhere. I've played, thousands of video games at this point. Who knows where I'm pulling from, to be honest. Like a lot of it, like video games are like creating a video game is like a series of like 100,000 decisions, or like million decisions. Like who knows how many decisions. Like at a certain point, it's not very conscious anymore, because you just have to make decisions to create the thing, right? So like I don't know. There's probably I wish I had a good example of it off the top of my head, but I don't necessarily. That's just me, feeling isolated while making the game, and then making isolated.
You were inspired by your feelings. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Cube Runs, aka Cerise, says, "Who do you consider your contemporaries striving in a similar direction?"
I mean, I love Sylvie. Sylvie's great. Sylvie's my number one inspiration, for sure. But yeah, stuff like Maddie's doing. I'm very into Celeste. I'm into Jumper. I'll probably be into her. She's making a new Jumper, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, I was actually curious because I saw that there was like on Twitter yesterday. I saw like new game from the creators of Celeste, and it sounded like Maddie is not involved. I don't know what's going on with that, so I was curious what Maddie's up to.
Yeah. I think that's Noel working on that, or Noel. I don't know what their name is. Noel, I think. But yeah, I think they had some problems on their previous project and just wanted to split and try their own thing. So I think Maddie's making Jumper, and the other half of the team's making something else.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Maddie's, by the way, Maddie's Super Mario World hacks are incredible.
I've watched some of those on YouTube. Those are some of the few Super Mario World hacks I have actually.
They're so good. You can't play them as a beginner. Well, actually, some people have told me you can play them as a beginner. I don't really believe them. I don't think you can, but they're extremely creative. The same way like her
yeah, it's
commercial
great.
games are.
Yeah, it's like yeah, serious celebrated game developer makes a Super Mario World hack. It's
yeah, so
totally
like
what you think.
Yeah, Maddie making Super Mario World hacks, that's huge inspiration as well.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are more contemporaries that interpreted more broadly, like striding in a similar direction.
Laney, whoever made Laney.
Yeah, Laney game dev, the secret unknown Laney game dev, or maybe known by some people, but not me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we will call it there. I think we covered a good amount of stuff. Yeah, go play Derelict Star. And yeah, related to Laney game, join the Discord where we talk about cool games all the time. We just had a really interesting experience discovering this itch.io platformer that had like secret online functionality, and we all got on it together and discovered each other in the game, and
yeah, super
got
cool.
obsessed with it for 2 days.
Yeah, I'm still obsessed. I'm still thinking about it. It's a very good game.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Yeah, the game is, well, whatever. You can find it in the Discord. All right, thanks for watching, everyone, and yeah, see you next week.